Hello, this is Joe Peters from MomFit with Joe Peters. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network and the Her Network on Single TV channels 250 and 251. Please download the Single TV app in the respective iOS and Android devices. While you are downloading, make sure to leave a comment. The app is free. Single TV can also be accessed in all the smart TVs since 2016 and is also available in Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV, Roku, and Roku Stick. If you are not following me yet, please make sure to go to Instagram and Facebook and follow me at Joe Unicorn Coach, like in the bottom of the screen that you are seeing for me. I handle my own social media and I would love to hear from you. What are your intakes, ahas from this talk? And also, if you have any doubts or challenges or problems as a mom that you need support on, send me a message. If I cannot help you, I will find an expert like Pauliana to help you and get answers so you can win the marathon of motherhood without burnout, without doing it all. So I'm super, super excited to have Pauliana here. Pauliana is a public speaker and coach. She teaches moms how to have it all, including balance and joy. With 2 decades of legal practice representing Fortune 500 companies and being a single super mom, Pauliana is an expert in obtaining and enjoying the both and in life, knowing that life lessons come with the bumpy road and the stretching of oneself, both personally and professionally. As a high level professional woman, she has learned how she doesn't have to choose between her job and her kids. She can have both. It is her mission to equip working moms with the tools to transform their lives. Pauliana speaks to women around the globe and coaches them on how to navigate all the things, finding that sweet spot of stability and joy in life. Now, Pauliana helps working moms fully enjoy having a real work life balance that offers fulfillment in the boardroom as well as in the living room. I am super excited to have Pauliana here. It's going to be an amazing show. Pauliana, well, we're going to start with you talking a little bit about you and how you moved from legal to helping moms, and also your favorite phrase. I always ask my guests to share a phrase, and yours was, let's find bliss, not the burdens of being a working mom. Pauliana, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Joe. I'm so excited to be here. And with podcasts or events that I do, I genuinely feel thrilled. I mean, it's so exciting for me to be able to have this opportunity, not just with you, but your audience and whoever else may watch this down the road. Um, I think women have been going through such a long journey trying to be both roles, moms at home and professionals, entrepreneurs, educators, whatever profession they're choosing on the personal side. So for me, for years, I didn't know how to do it. And there was no class, no book, no, it was like you just had to figure it out as you were going along. And it was awful. It was a struggle. It lots of tears, lots of screaming, lots of self-doubt. Like, how do I do this? I for my whole life I wanted to be an attorney ever since I was a little girl. But you don't think about how am I going to do that and raise kids? You figure I'll just figure it out as we go along. And the figuring out as we go along was when it got really stressful for me. And now that my kids are older, I mean, they're in their teens, and that's a whole, whole other issue. I realized I think I can help other women who were in my space and who are in my situation so that they can enjoy doing both.
That is super nice and is part of how they say that we teach what we need to learn, and then how we teach what the process of the journey, almost like the heroine journey of the challenge and then becoming better after the challenge. I love that. Pauliana, let's gonna talk a little bit about how you see this topic around the world of moms wanting to be successful in their careers, being successful in their careers and still be moms and enjoy their family and be there for their kids.
Yeah. So I think the most important thing I would tell my clients or your audience is you have to really be good about how you spend your time. I always hear from working moms, I don't have enough time. There's not enough time. I have so much to do. And that's all true. I get it. And I always say, whether you're Jeff Bezos or little Kylie in second grade in Pennsylvania, we're only going to get 24 hours. That's not going to change. I don't think that's going to change. Technology and science is moving so fast, but you only have 24 hours. So don't battle the fact that there's 24 hours, embrace it. And so start cutting up your day, cutting up your time. So I think the big problem is the lines get blurred. When we're at work, we're doing stuff online for the kids. I mean, I talk to some moms who, daycares have that baby cam. You can watch your baby and they just sit and they watch the baby and they have all this work, all these projects, all this stuff that they need to do, but they're so sucked up into the baby that their work is falling behind. The flip side of it is true. Moms, I know once they go home, they're on their phone, they're checking email, they're trying to take a work call, they're trying to do one more thing. And so they're not enjoying being at home because they're bringing work into the home. And so I always tell moms, learn to love the clock. If you're at work, whatever it is, if you're a clothing designer, if you're an accountant, be engaged, get good work product, get good results, be focused, do what you need to do at work during work. And at the same token, when you're done and you go home, that's it. No checking emails, no taking work calls. No, I'm going to just, finish that one little project. But I was guilty of that, very much so. And I think as women, we have a higher bar. The firm that I was at when I had my son, they were all men. And they didn't understand the concept of, I have stuff to do at home because I have a newborn. So they were able to stay late, take work calls at 7:30, take files home. Whereas I went home, I had a 1-year-old. I had to feed him and bathe him and do all those things. So I think as women, we feel we have to do extra because we want to be equal, and that we're creating a burden on ourselves.
I love that because actually I was with another successful female, a COO of a company, and she was sharing how her daughter recently joined their team, moved from another company, and their granddaughter is being sick for 4 days. And then she was telling me how much it's touching her to know that if her daughter was in the other company, she probably will be in big trouble, even fire because she didn't have enough sick leave. And I agree with you that, and that I smile in your bio because I think that we both are working in that option of having it all. But
Right.
I think that it starts with what you are saying is we need to start speaking up and we need to stop trying to be the good girl playing on rules that were not designed for us. You say completely right. When they create these executive roles and this leadership and these companies start growing, that was with males that
Right.
like one of my favorite ones, one of my coaches, one of my clients last week was like, yeah, I hear from this male coach that you need to burn your boats and just go all in and achieve your 10-year goal in 6 months. And then I stopped her and said, like, okay, when do you hear a woman saying something like that? And she was, well, never. I was like, do you wonder why? Do you think that is because we just don't think about it? And then she was like, no. And I said, like, it's because every single one of those men, like your partners that were staying until 8:38, they had our spouse covering for them everything else. So of course it's very easy for you to burn the boats and go all in your career when you have at home
A support
somebody that do
system, yeah.
everything else.
Right. And I just want to say one thing, which is it's something that I do talk about too is, there was a time when you could start taking calls in your car when Bluetooth came about, and I remember that even when I left the office and I had picked up, at this point I had two babies, and I had picked them up from daycare, and I had a very stressful 8 days, I mean 8 hours at work, right, as an attorney, and then to pick up the kids, have them in the car, and they're having fun and they're singing, Disney songs and doing things. And then when a call comes in and it would say like it was a client or an opposing counsel, I would turn on and be like, shh, like telling my own children, be quiet, because I have to take some dum-dum's phone call at 6 o'clock. And I put that stress on myself because I knew that my male counterparts were probably still at the office and they could take that call. And it created so much stress and so much anxiety in me that I am trying to be equivalent to somebody who doesn't have the same responsibilities as me. And I think that's kind of what you're saying about your, other coach who at her previous job, she would feel so guilty to take sick days for her own child. I mean, that sounds insane to me. And this is our future generation. These are the people who are going to be running the companies and being the leaders, but we don't have time to care for them because our boss might get angry. I mean, it was crazy.
Absolutely. I love like mic drop, the one that says you just say the race of being equal to somebody that didn't have the same amount of responsibility that I did. And I think that
Yeah.
that summarizes it all, because
Yeah.
all that of, yeah, we are equal. No, we are not equal. We are not equal, because when you go home, you have a spouse that had already the dinner ready, that already take care of the kids, that already did the homework. When I go home, I have to do all of that and more. So I love how you make it like, stop trying to be equal. We are not equal. We need to equalize and normalize that we need different rules and different support systems to thrive.
Correct.
I love, love, love that. And let's gonna talk about a little bit about that and how we can normalize that conversation. I was, when you were saying to the new generations, how much we try to pretend that everything is okay with our children versus sharing with them, because you were right, like those little boys, those little girls are going to be the CEOs and the vice presidents of companies in the future. So if growing up they never see that there is something broken in the system, they are not going to have that impulse and that motivation to change it when they have the power. But if they keep hearing mom saying, hey, this is happening because in my work they don't support, this is happening because of this, then we are actually helping them to get that message that when they are in the power, they're going to be like, okay, time to change. This is not happening anymore.
Exactly. And I have a daughter, I have a son and a daughter, and I want my daughter to know that her priorities and her life, and the subject we haven't even scratched on is her mental health, and her physical health is just as much of a priority as any client, any result, any work product, any account, any transaction she's going to do. Because for me, I was physically falling apart. I mean, your body and your mind can only handle so much, right? And it's like, it's all right here. So when you're stressed, anxious, scared, and that just work. And then you have a family, a husband, your extended family, your own parents, all of those things. I mean, it just becomes so much, and then it affects you. And I thought, what's the point if I'm stressed out, anxious, constantly on edge, and these beautiful babies are looking at me like, what's wrong with this crazy woman? Why is she always angry? Why is she always wants to yell? It's just because there was too much going on, and I didn't have the discipline and the mindset to extract. Like, that email can wait until 8 o'clock in the morning. There's no reason for me to stop making dinner and talking to my children and listening to music and playing games or whatever to respond to an email that's totally insignificant. But it was that pressure that I felt, and comparing myself like to my male counterparts, that if I don't respond to that email, my client is going to look down on me. It's like, no, you have to set the tone with your client. You know what? I'll get back to you in the morning during working hours. So I think it's important for the younger generation to see that too, because they need to start growing up with knowing those boundaries and that balance. But when they see mom constantly on the phone, cooking, typing, cell phone is here, baby's diaper needs to be changed, the dog is barking, they see that, and kids absorb all of that energy. And so once you're able to really separate the two and you're in a calm place and you feel good about yourself, the kids see that too.
Absolutely. And the other thing that is that if they that is why they see you do all the time, then they assume that that is normal. That is how life should be. So when
Exactly.
they experience the same, they're like, "Well, yeah, my mom did it. It's fine." One thing that I love about what you are saying is the part of clearing boundaries at work, and um, I'm being seeing that a lot more recent with if people are not respecting your boundaries, it's because you are not being clear in them. One of the things, for example, that I coach mainly women, but I have a few female male clients, and one of the things that I said since the beginning is, "Hey, I am a working mom of a toddler that I choose to have here in my house with my nanny. So because I breastfeed, I will not tell my baby that he cannot breastfeed because I'm with you and you may be feeling uncomfortable that I'm putting my blouse up. I want upfront to say that to you. And if you don't think that you will be able to handle that, amazing. Let's gonna find somebody else for you." So I love because you are big about shame and guilt. I love how, and I want you to share with our audience how they can feel confident and to speaking up and saying, "This is my reality. I am a working mom." And it's funny because I was actually thinking, we don't say I'm a working dad, right?
It's true. But Joe, before I'll get to shame guilt because I love talking about shame guilt. I mean, we could do a whole show on shame guilt, and maybe we should, you and I. But the thing that I wanted to say is we're so afraid. I remember in the beginning of my career, I wouldn't even mention that I have kids because I would be stereotyped. I would be prejudiced. I would be biased and saying, oh, you can't do a good enough job for me because you have kids. So, Pauliana, you must be distracted. And it's like, no, you're underestimating my ability. I could do great work for you. I could get amazing results for my client. I could get, tremendous wins and still be a mom. Like, why is society dictating the fact that we can't do both? And we believe that. And I love that you told your client up front, you know what? This is who I am. I'm still going to give you a great coaching session, but for 30 seconds, I'm going to breastfeed my toddler. And if that is too much for you to accept, then I'm not the right person for you. But a lot of women, and I think a lot of women still are very afraid of that conversation because they don't want to lose the client. They don't want to be typecast as, uh, you're putting your family first. And that's not true. You can do both. It's not saying that if you breastfeed for 30 seconds, the coaching session is going to go to trash. But it's this, we have to start getting the courage to be honest about the roles we play. That's
I love that the courage to be honest about our roles because and then I love how you say because I'm also coach a lot into like that having it all in the manifestation part is I love how you put it on moms. Listen to this. The fear of losing one client because you stepped up coming from a fear of you believing that there is not enough. I promise you, there are a lot of males, females, moms that will love to see your baby coming in climbing in, that are in the same vibe. And then the reality is when you, by fear, accept to do that work, accept that client, accept going beyond your boundaries, that is draining you energetically because then you
even
are all the time.
more. Yeah, I mean, even more because you're constantly, it's like you have to think about the things you're doing. You have to think about the project you're working on, the deal you're trying to close, whatever career you're in, the new store you want to launch, right? So you have those things. And then you have your family things you have to worry about, school, holidays, budgeting, the household, dinner, all those things. And then a whole other layer of thoughts about, am I good enough? Do I have the confidence to do this? Is my client going to stereotype me as a working mom? I mean, your brain can only handle so much. And you're bringing yet this whole other, and that affects you emotionally. Like again, like I used to not even tell opposing counsel that I had kids. Like, who cares? How is that going to affect my work product? But it was again that fear of, oh, they're going to put a little asterisk by my name and say, oh, this one has kids. She's not going to be focused. She's not going to be dedicated. She's not going to be productive. And that's all garbage because I got great results.
Absolutely. And actually, I was seeing a meme, whatever how it's called, a few weeks ago about like if you want productivity, give something to a mom that knows that need to finish things before picking up her son to school, before going and make dinner. And one of the fun things, and this is very realistic and very true, I saw it when I was working at Goodyear. um, I was not a mom yet, but I really enjoy my life outside Goodyear. So I was really productive during the day because I really want to leave by 4 o'clock. And then I was always compared with some males, and they were like, well, they're here until 6 to 7, so it doesn't look good on you. And then after the second or third time, I just told them, I said, like, okay, I am working next to them all the time. They spend a lot of time, 30 minutes, an hour and a half, talking about last weekend football game, talking about the whatever show, talking about when they're going to golf. They are not working. They are doing
And
other things.
okay. Yeah, but it seems like that's okay. Nobody criticizes that. Nobody looks down on that. Nobody comments on that because that's just societally we're accepting of that. But exactly. Good point, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's amazing. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about from what these moms that are facing this, either that are pregnant and they are concerned about maternity leave and this new part and how that is going to impact their career, and or moms that are having those challenges with their kids are small, they are sick, they need to pick them up, how they can start balancing both. And I love in your bio how you said it's about this and that, it's about both. What are some of the specific things that they can do to start going into that path of feeling worthy of enjoying both sides of that coin?
Right. So one of the things that I always talk about is, my favorite four-letter word, and it's help. So I think a lot of women I've talked to and a lot of the things that I'm reading is I feel like women think that if they ask for help, it's a sign of failure. You're unproductive, ineffective, ill equipped. If you need help, you just don't have it in you. And that is a crock of crap. Excuse my language, but that's just crap. Like, I think the best thing you can do is ask for help. And as moms, especially, type A moms like me, it was a real struggle for me because I can do this. I can do this. And it's like, you know what? My favorite quote, and I always forget who said it, is you can do anything, but not everything. I had two kids. One had soccer practice, one had ballet. I was just one person. I couldn't be at two places at one time, you know? So sometimes I had stuff that I had to do for work. I was getting ready for trials and I had to stay because my expert witness was only available at 4:30. I'm not going to jeopardize a trial because I have to get to daycare by 5. So accepting the fact that asking for help is one of the best things that you can do. So whether it's after school, I hated the fact that my kids went to after school. I wanted to pick them up at 2 o'clock, like all the other moms, and come home and have snacks and watch cartoons. But you know what? That wasn't my reality. I had to work and I loved what I did. I still do. I'm still a lawyer. But it was like, you know what? Okay, if my kids have to go to after school, I had to change my mindset about it. It was, I'm doing something for them. They're there with other kids. It's not like they're sitting in some dark dungeon somewhere. There's a bunch of other kids after school. They get to play, they get to have snacks, they get to run around the yard. And during that time, I know that they're taken care of. So for those extra 2 hours or 3 hours, whatever it was, I get to focus and do a great 2, 3 hours of work product, do what I needed to do to finish out my day and come home and not think about work. But for a long time, I struggled. I was like, oh, my poor kids have to go to after school. I wish I was there to pick them up in the drive through lane like all the other mommies. And I'm like, that's just not my life. And you want to hear something funny? They're teenagers now, and they made up a song about one of their after school teachers, and they still sing it sometimes. And it's like, it's so funny to me, but it was a beautiful thing for them, or asking a mom who is going to swing right by your house if they can pick up soccer stuff or soccer gear, whatever. Like, it, it's this thing of, I need your assistance so that my life will be smoother. And women are so receptive. They're so helpful. Carpools. Oh, speaking of employers, there are companies that have daycare in their building. I talk to women who say, look, I'm on the 8th floor. There's daycare on the 3rd floor. My boss, they supplement it. They give you a stipend. At lunch, I get to go down and hang out with my kids. I was like, that's so beautiful. But some women are embarrassed of that. No, I can't take my baby to work. I don't want my boss to know that at lunch I'm going, you could go get a pedicure at lunch. It's none of your boss's business.
And I think that one thing that I want to talk with you is, because this needs to be a revolution almost. This needs to be something that we all speak up, because we are in this hole because so many moms and so many women don't speak about it, don't say it out. Part of that is that, and I think that that was a big disservice for males and females, but impact a lot more females, that salary, you're a salary person, so then you need to be available all the time. And I think that companies are taking that and use that to actually save money, putting 2 and 3 positions in one person, because they are already saying, oh, you are salary, you need to stay as long as you need to have your job done. And I think that that is a fair conversation to talk, and use part of that concept and saying like, hey, if I am working 100% of the time focused, and is being a constant that I am behind my job every day, every week for 3 months, then there is something wrong. Like, I'm either having more than one person's job, something is going on, and it's good to have that. Let's gonna talk about shutting off, and how we can choose that. Okay, I'm leaving work, like you were saying. I'm not going to be reviewing emails and things. And this is also very important, not only for employees, but for business owners. And what are some of the tips and techniques that you can tell working moms, both for employers and in their own business, to make that clear cut that, okay, in the evening when you are with your kids, you are with your kids, honey, it's okay. The world is not going to end if you don't answer the text from your boss, or if you don't answer this email, or if you don't comment on that. You can allow yourself to wait until next morning in the next day.
And I think that one of the keys is how you behave and what messaging you're doing while you're at the office, right? I know women who don't have kids, and while they're at the office, they're on social media. They're shopping. They're going to lunch for an hour and a half. And that's okay. They get to get away with that. Whereas for me, for years, I went in, it was like a machine. I was like a robot. I would eat at my desk. Sometimes I wouldn't even eat. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's actually not a good thing. But I just wanted to get as much done, because when I went home, I wanted to be done. And I think my boss at the time started seeing the pattern. Like, you know what? She's getting great outcomes. The clients are happy. I see her. She comes to me with questions. She's not hidden in her office with the door closed, because I wanted my boss to know I love my job. I love working for you here. But it doesn't mean I can't love my house and the kids that live in my house and the role that I play at home. But I think if you are able to be disciplined enough to do really good and do great product, great service while you're at work, I think your employer will start seeing the difference. And the one other thing, Joe, which I think is really important, I learned a very important lesson many years ago, and this goes to the shame and guilt. Daycare had called and said, and every time I would see the phone number, I would pass out like, "Oh my God, what happened?" Your heart beats, you get so scared because daycare is calling. Like, what? You always think something bad happened, and they said that my son had this bad cough and it was called croup. I'm sure the moms know about it. It sounds like a barking dog. It's like deep. Anyway, long story short, no big deal. They just wanted me to know. And so I walked out of my office and my boss's secretary said, "Oh, is everything okay? You look." I said, "No, daycare just called and said that my son had croup." And this is a long story, but I'm going to condense it. Basically, she went and told on me. For what? She went and told our boss, the company, 22 lawyers, that Pauliana's son has a cough. I never asked for a day off. I didn't leave the office. I didn't call in sick the next day. And Joe, I was and when my boss came back from a very big trial he was in, I mean, we had a whole floor, there was about 45 employees. He came and said, "Oh, I heard your son is sick." But how would you know that? And why do you know that? You're in this huge trial, a high profile trial with the media and everything, and you're coming to check on my 2-year old's cough? My female mother coworker told on me. Do you see what I'm saying? And so it got me to a point where I didn't want to share my home life anymore because this woman, who herself was a mom, was almost playing the role of the men, judging me and making me feel shame for just sharing mother to mother, woman to woman. I will never, I mean, I'm still getting goosebumps right now because it was so disgusting and so awful. So, some of the way to change the conversation is women who are in high power executive positions to be supportive of the working moms in their company, in their organization, in their corporation. That's how the conversation starts. You know, I was just sharing with her as a mom. I didn't say, "Oh, I'm going to leave," or, "Oh, I can't concentrate. My son is coughing." No, it was, I will never forget that moment. How horrible I felt, how much shame I felt that I expressed to her. "Ah, daycare called, my son has a cough." It was mind blowing that she felt the need to go and tell my boss, "Oh, Pollyanna's son has a cough." Like, who cares? But when you say standing up for yourselves, I think some of that responsibility is also on women who are in these positions in corporations who can start changing the attitudes of the men. It's not a battle you have to fight by yourself. You
And,
know,
and I and I don't think that you can fight it by yourself. I think that we are in this hole because we are trying to fight it by ourselves. And I actually, before I had my own business, I work as an executive in Pepsi and Goodyear, and that was one of the things that even when I was not a mom, I did that all the time with my team. Like if I knew that some of them, like both Goodyear and Pepsi, are a very masculine, all
they're
mentality schools. But if I hear that their kids were sick, I will just go and say, "Hey, you know what? Why you don't just go home and work from home?" And they were like, "No, no, no, it's fine." And I'm like, "If you want to stay, stay. But I want you to know that it is okay for you to go if you are going to have more peace of mind." And they were like, "Well, nobody ever offered
offered
that to
them.
me
Yep.
or was aware of that." And then I will next day or 2 days later, I will just check on them and say, "Hey, how is your baby feeling? How things are going?" Because one of the things that we were talking with another guest was the concept of society is expecting you to parent like if you didn't work, and then work like if you didn't have a family, because that is what men do. But then it's about us to start almost as a revolution, standing up and say, like, no, I cannot work pretending that I didn't have a family, because they are part of who I am. They are part of my identity. They are part of my why. And I think that is a process, step by step. Now, let's gonna get how moms can shut off that shame and guilt that come up, that is based on that fear of what others are going to feel, how they can, what tools they can use to shut off that shame and guilt, and how they can ask for help.
Okay, so one thing that, and I have no degree education in psychology, clinical studies, nothing, but I, you know, in this arena of women supporting women and women's empowerment, I see shame and guilt clumped together. Okay, I actually spoke on a panel. It was called Shame Guilt. And so the more I thought about it, I see them as two very different things. I see shame as something somebody else makes you feel. Shame is external for me. If I wanted to leave work half an hour early and my boss rolled his eyes, that would make me feel shame. Or if my coworker said, "Oh, lucky you, you get to leave early," that would make me feel shame. Obviously, if I'm making the decision to leave early, I don't think there's anything wrong with it because I know what I've done for the other 7.5 hours. I know that I've gotten my work done, gotten calls taken care of, email sent. So if I want to leave half an hour early, I, as a grown adult woman, think I'm making the right choice. But it's somebody else's interpretation of my choice that makes me feel shame. So I always see shame as an outside thing. Guilt, I see as internal. I feel guilty. I feel bad. And it could be anything. Like when the kids were younger, I didn't want to take a long shower. I didn't want to like condition my hair. I'm like, I got to hurry and get outside because they need me. They're sitting there and something might happen. And so guilt was an internal thing that I only felt about myself. And so to start dealing with the shame, I started having a stronger sense of the choices I was making. My boss can roll his eyes. My woman colleague can make those cruel and mean comments, but you have to develop this really thick skin and say, you know what? I've given you the time your company, organization, whatever needed. I've given you the best 8 hours of the day. And now it's time for me to go home and give my family the best hours of the rest of the day. And I think you have to just not be so susceptible to other people's opinion when it comes to shame, because people have a lot of opinions, and whether you want it or not, they're going to give you their opinion. And so I think there's some developing of a thicker skin, and it's a shift in the attitude. You know what? I did for you. Now I need to do for me. I'm going to go home. I have a soccer game. I have a ballet recital. I just want to sit and color with my kids. I don't have to explain to you. Because when I'm at work, my kids aren't saying, "Hey, mom, where are you? Mom, we want to come into your workplace." I don't take my kids to work. So why am I bringing work into the house? That's just how I started dealing with shame. And to repeatedly remind myself, I'm making the best decisions for me and my family. And I know it's easy to say, but it's really a shift in mindset. Slowly and slowly, as you start convincing yourself that you matter and the choices you make matter, not your boss, not your coworker, not a client, not opposing counsel, not a judge. For me, these are the people that I worried about the shame. And Joe, one other thing too, shame can also come from your own family, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, the community, whether you're a member of a church. My both of my kids went to preschool very young because I had to go back to work. And I would hear the comments, "Oh, those poor babies, they're so young. They need to be with their mom." Okay, well then you can come and pay the bills. You can come and run the household, because why would you say something like that to a mom who, the struggle is there. And so shame isn't just from work. It could be your family too. Guilt, I think you have to just accept that you need to take care of yourself. Like for me, taking a long shower, I felt guilty. And I would come out and my hair would look awful because I didn't put conditioner. And sometimes I'm like, God, did I even use soap? I was in such a hurry. Or eating without my kids. You know, our schedules are crazy, right? Sometimes the kids want to eat every 2 hours. Sometimes they don't want to eat for 5 hours. And I would feel guilty if I ate without them. I was like, my body needs that fuel. I need to charge my battery. I need to eat. So I had to get over feeling guilty because I had to take care of my own needs. So it's a little, all these self conversations. You know what? You have to do what's best for you. You have to do, what you need to do and for your family.
And I think that is important also point out that all of that can be rooted into what I call that good girl syndrome, that
Mm.
expectation that we have. Oh, I need to be a good girl, they need to like me, they need to accept me. And then it's part of that, no, you don't. And is part of dropping off that good girl. One of the things I'm being putting this example lately a lot because it was very powerful for me to get inside is there is a video from Salma Hayek that says, if I start insulting you and saying horrible things about you in Spanish, you will not feel offended, you will not feel upset, you will not feel anything because you are not understanding it.
Right.
And then that part of that shame is don't let don't give your power to others for them to dictate how you feel. And then just saying like, I'm feeling shame because I'm trying to be a good girl for my boss, I'm trying to be a good girl for this person. I don't need to be a good girl, a good girl. And even more, like, being a good girl doesn't mean that I have to put other people's needs and wants before mine. And that is okay. It's okay for, I love how you're saying that, for shame and guilt. It's okay to take care of us. It's okay to say I matter. And then, you know what? I think that's something that is super empowering, is saying, you know what? Getting to bed at the end of the day and say, I freaking did the best that I could today. And that is enough for me. And that is good. That is good for me. I don't have to be like, well, but this person didn't thought about it, but I didn't finish this with this person. Because there is always, especially for working moms, there is always something else. I was talking with one of my clients, they're saying like, well, they're putting this, the list never goes, the list always expand and the list doesn't
Right.
come smaller. And I said like, honey, that is the purpose of the list. If you are working harder trying to clean the list, you are setting yourself for a failure, because as soon as you clean the list, what your bosses are going to say, oh, she's being so efficient, she's been doing so good, let's gonna put her some more work to help us. So as soon as you empty a space, I promise you, that space is going to be filled with something else. So it's about us to not feel a shame and guilt about, oh my God, I have all these things. And I think also I want to hear your opinion as we close the show. It's also about confidence, because I am almost sure, I see it with my husband, males also have also a huge list that never comes down, but they don't see that list as something that they are ashamed of. They're just like, that is work and I didn't finish some of that today, I'm gonna finish it tomorrow. So it's about also us as moms to feel confident that it is okay, it is okay to have a long list, it is okay to do the best that we can.
But it's also shifting the conversation of, like you said, if a man has a very long list of things to do, nobody is going to judge him and say, "Oh, you didn't get your list done because you're a dad." Right? But we internalize our own burdens and say, look, if I don't get my list done, people are going to think it's because I left at 5 o'clock. I didn't work at midnight. I had to go to watch my daughter's ballet recital. And so some of that self talk is what's causing the problems. Like, have strength, be confident in what you said and what you did, and that energy and that message will shift to the other side. If you're already showing concern and like, I feel really bad that I have to leave, and I feel so bad that I didn't work until midnight, it's the messaging you're sending up. Men don't say that. And they might not even have kids, and just like you said, they're out having watching the football game with their friends, or they're gonna leave early because they want to go to a concert, or they want to go grab a beer. Nobody judges them, but it's also, changing the messaging. But the one thing that I just did want to say, which I think is really important too, is, you need to do whatever you need to do to bring down your anxiety level. And for me, I knew that sometimes, even after the kids went to bed, it was like 11 o'clock. I just wanted to look and see, because I don't like surprises. I have plenty of fires to put out in the morning. And so for 10 seconds or whatever, I would just do a quick check to see, do I need to worry about anything that happened between 5 and 11 o'clock at night? Because just for me personally, I would do a quick scan of my emails. Okay, everything looks good. I'm going to get good sleep. I'll deal with all the fires in the morning. Because some women, and we're type A, right? We want to be good. We want to get great results, great work product, all those things. And I've had women tell me, Pauliana, it just kills me. I just want to check my phone. I just want to see if, I got that deal. I just want to see if that client hired me. And I say to them, you know what? That's okay if it's not interrupting family time. If you want to know if that client hired you and it's going to boost your energy and it's going to make you happy and it's going to put a big smile on your face and your heart is going to dance, check that email. Kids are already asleep. And most of the time, it's a feel good, right? You're like, yes, I got that client. If you're a new business, whatever. So it's not these hard, strict lines of never check work emails and never call clients. It's being able to navigate it so that you're not being torn apart. I just think that that's an important comment to make.
Absolutely. And I think that as we close the episode, I would love all the moms that are working to accept this challenge and be creative. And I'm going to think about it. And Paulina, if you have any suggestion, I would love to hear from you. Stop saying that you are a working mom, or start saying, oh, are you a working dad? Because that has been a huge aha moment for me right now. Like, we always say, like, oh, I'm a working mom, but how many times we say, oh, my husband is a working dad, or oh, are you working dad? We don't. So we are already, since that moment that we are saying, oh, I'm a working mom, are putting that balance there where our counterpart, our partners don't. So how powerful will be that we drop that working mom, and how we can say it differently. Oh yeah, I work full time. Or yes, I have my business. I am a mompreneur. It's almost like we are having those labels of proud that we are doing more as we are being a mom and a worker that males don't. Uh, Pauliana, as we are closing, share one thing that you want to leave the audience knowing about finding that balance and having both, and how they can reach out to you if they want to connect with you.
Absolutely. The thing about the one takeaway is being selfish is not a bad thing. Be more selfish. Be more selfish, because there are women who are not mothers and they're selfish and they do things that are, I mean, whether it's eating. I talk to women who say, I've gone all day long and I haven't eaten. I'm like, why? Go get a sandwich. Your body needs that protein. You need the fuel. You need the substance. If you don't eat and you get sick, you're not going to be there to take care of your kids. So take care of you. If you need the sleep, if you need the help, if you need professional help, you need to talk to a therapist, you want to talk to somebody at your church, don't feel ashamed for putting your needs first, because you existed before your job, before your husband, before the kid. And if you don't take care of you, all your universe around you will fall apart. Um, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pollyanna Lara. I think, Joe, I always tell audience members, if they want to reach out to me, just put the subject line MomFit TV. It's connect@pollyannalara.com. I would love to answer questions, see how I can help anybody. And it's been super fun to do this today.
Thank you so much, Pauliana. Thank you for your wisdom. Everybody else, go and follow Pauliana Lara in Facebook and Instagram, and also Joe Unicorn Coach. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and leave it.